Hello, fellow Flutterers. In the last video, we worked with setState, and in this video, we're going to work with provider, specifically the changeNotifier provider. Now, the changeNotifier provider, simply put, notifies the rest of the app of changes. It's that simple. So like in the setState video that we did previously, we're going to do a favorite fruit app. The way it'll work is there'll be 3 buttons on the screen that have 3 different fruits in them, and an app bar that says my favorite fruit is X. When you press the button, it's going to send fruit down into a custom button, but we need a way to get the fruit back up to the app bar. So we'll be able to accomplish that with changeNotifier. First things first, I'm going to import the Flutter material package. I'm going to do my typical main with a fat arrow. We're going to type run app and then my app. Next, we're going to create my app, which extends a stateful widget. We're going to type override, and then we'll go ahead and start connecting to our state. Then we will create my app state, which extends state, my app. We're going to override again. We're going to do a build. We're going to return a material app. And a scaffold. And we're going to set up an app bar with a title of text that just says my favorite fruit is unknown. And running it, you'll see that it worked. My favorite fruit is unknown is listed in the app bar. So what we want to do next is we want 3 elevated buttons. One will say apples, one will say oranges, and one will say bananas, just like in the setState video. But to keep it clean, we're going to go ahead and create a custom button for those elevated buttons. So down here at the very bottom of the page, we'll go ahead and create our class called fruit button. It's going to extend a stateless widget. We're going to set a final string of fruit. We're going to look for this stateless widget to receive a fruit string. We'll go ahead and type in our override. We'll do widget build context. So we're going to return an elevated button. We're going to set its on pressed to blank at the moment, and it will have a child of text fruit. Now to call this fruit button, we'll just simply go up here below app bar. We'll add a body and we'll add a column. In the column, we'll have children. And here we will just type in fruit button. Fruit equals apples. Fruit button, fruit equals oranges. And fruit button, fruit equals bananas. Go ahead and give that a save, and we'll see our buttons. And as usual, I forgot to center it. So I'm going to right mouse click, do show context actions. I'm going to say wrap with center. It's going to automatically add it for me. I hit save again, and now it's centered. Okay, so now as you see, we've created a material app with a scaffold, which has an app bar and a body in it. The app bar says my favorite fruit is unknown currently. Now the body has 3 fruit buttons, and the fruit button passes the name of the fruit down into the fruit button class. The problem that we're running into, just like in the setState video, is we have to get the fruit, once this button is pressed, back up into the app bar. So we're going to do that by using the changeNotifierProvider. So the thing that we need to do now is install Provider. If you're using Android Studio like I am, you can simply go down here and click on the Terminal tab. And from here, you can type in Flutter pub add provider. Doing that will add Provider to your pubspec YAML file and will run pubget for you. So you should be ready to go at that point. I do believe you can add this manually like you always have. I'll add a link to more information in the description. So now that we've done that, we're going to go down here below the fruit button class. We're going to create a new class called favorites. So think of favorites like it'll be a container for all of your favorites. So if you're doing a larger app, you could have your favorite sport in there, your favorite song in there, your favorite color in there. But for this small app, we're just going to have your favorite fruit in there. So I'm going to call it favorites, and it's going to extend the changeNotifier. At the top, I'm going to have string fruit equals unknown. Then we're going to type void change fruit with a string of a variable called new fruit. When we call this change fruit, we're going to change the fruit variable to new fruit. And then we have to notify the listeners. And what that does is simply notify the listeners, which will show in just a second. The next thing we're going to do is go ahead and import Provider. Up here in Run App, where we currently just have My App, I'm going to type in changeNotifierProvider. Here I'm going to type create with a fat arrow, and it's going to point to that favorites class that we created a few seconds ago. And then this will have a child that points to My App. So we've put the changeNotifierProvider all the way at the top so it can talk down to all the different sections. So now we're going to scroll down here to App Bar, and instead of having unknown hard-coded in there, we're going to type Provider of favorites context fruit. This is now going to get the fruit that is stored in favorites. Save that, and we still see my favorite fruit is unknown because that's what we have stored down here in favorites. Then we have one last piece to do. We need to go down here into the elevated buttons on pressed, and we need to call that change fruit command that we made earlier. So we're going to type in Provider of favorites context, and we're going to set this to not listen for notifications. So we'll put in there listen : false. We'll type in change fruit, and then we'll set this to fruit. So let's recap one last time. We see an app bar that says my favorite fruit is unknown. We get 3 buttons. One says apples, one says oranges, one says bananas. If you press the button, then it goes to change fruit with the name of the fruit. It sets the new name of the fruit to the name of the button, and then it notifies its listeners. When it notifies its listeners, this up here updates to the new fruit name. So let's give it a try. So it currently says my favorite fruit is unknown. If I press apples, it changes to apples. If I press oranges, it changes to oranges. And if I press bananas, it changes to bananas. So this is obviously a very basic example of changeNotifierProvider. You would obviously more than likely want to use this on a much larger application. In this case, you would probably just use the setState method that we used in the previous video. But what I wanted to show here is a much smaller implementation of it that might be easier to understand. So thank you for watching. Please consider checking out this video, or if you'd like to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing, and we'll see you in the next one.